All right, let's talk about my top 10 quarterbacks that I'm most interested in seeing. This isn't necessarily the quarterbacks I think will be the best this next season, just that I'm more interested in seeing play in 2023. For example, Kenny Pickett, who did not make this list but was an honorable mention. Last year, I would have had him on my top 10 quarterbacks I was interested in seeing last year. He was a very fascinating quarterback to watch. I'm not sure if he was a top 10 best quarterback last year, but that's okay because just seeing him develop and what that could mean for the Steelers was very fascinating to me. So a couple other honorable mentions. CJ Stroud made the honorable mentions list. Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, also two quarterbacks I always like seeing, but did not make this list. Let's start off with number 10. Number 10, Bryce Young, someone who I think belongs on this list. Again, easily could be higher. I'm very fascinated in watching, very similar to how I talked about with Kenny Pickett. What does it mean for the Panthers moving forward? They gave up so much to get him. If he sucks, they are going to be bad for a while, but if he's great, they could potentially be a championship contender in the next few years. That's how important he is to the Panthers. How much will it mean this year? It remains to be seen, but definitely someone you got to keep an eye on. Number 9, I'm going Anthony Richardson, someone who, again, I didn't quite have him as the prospect that I had Bryce Young as, but that's part of why I'm interested in seeing how he plays. I think there's such a high ceiling of him, but also such a low floor. And while Bryce Young, I think, doesn't quite have that floor that Richardson does, in a way that almost makes Richardson more fascinating to watch right out of the gate. He could come in and be an absolute disaster, but he could also come in and be great. And that's why I'm just so interested in seeing how this goes next year, and again, what it will mean for the Colts and their entire organization going forward. Number 8, give me Josh Allen. I think that I'm very fascinated with him. Obviously, he's always just interesting to watch in general, but also he is someone who I feel like has gotten better every single year he's been in the league. I think last year was easily his most consistent year, and I thought his best year as a whole. So seeing if he can improve upon that, and also obviously the devastating playoff loss to the Bengals, trying to redeem himself. Even though I thought that kind of he got too much criticism for that loss, but pretty much everything was a disaster in that situation. Still, at the same time, I think that for Josh Allen, I'm very fascinated in seeing what he does, and can he finally get over the hump and win a Super Bowl? That's really interesting to me. Number 7, I have Joe Burrow on this list. Joe Burrow, of course, has to make this list, in my opinion. He is someone who, again, very fascinating in seeing what he does, coming off of conference championship loss, and a year before a Super Bowl loss, definitely trying to redeem himself and win a Super Bowl or win an MVP potentially. He's been very, MVP caliber for these past couple of years, but just not quite good enough to get the MVP over Rodgers or Mahomes. But could he potentially do it this year? Is he going to be back with a vengeance? People feel like he could be a Super Bowl winner at some point. We'll see if he does. Number 6, I got to go Patrick Mahomes on this list. Again, he could have been number 1 on this list, quite frankly, because it is just fascinating to see greatness. Now, when you've seen it a number of times, it does start to wear off. That's just how this works, right? Like, we weren't tuning in to see every Tom Brady game, in year 17, right? That's just not what we were doing because we knew what he was going to do. Mahomes is starting to become that way as well, where we just know he's going to be great. So it doesn't hold the same value that's, or same intrigue that maybe some other players do. But still, how great can he be is the question with Mahomes. Not just can he be great, but how great can he be? And he is trying to chase these legends like Tom Brady, and we'll see if he can do it. But another MVP and Super Bowl would definitely go a long way. And obviously, just the circus passes that never get old to me. The media talks too much about them. Okay, fine. I want to talk about them. They're amazing. So he's on this list at number 6. Number 5, I'm going Lamar Jackson. Again, part of it is he's just fun to watch, which that does factor in. I like watching guys who are fun to watch. And I also just want to see him with an actual receiving core now, at least on paper. This could be a really good receiving core. And with Lamar actually having weapons to throw to, that's where things get really exciting for the Baltimore Ravens, and that's why I have him at number 5 of could he take that next step, and could he return to MVP form? I thought he actually was kind of having one of his better seasons we've seen him have in the NFL last year before the injuries. So could he kind of recapture that and maybe even take a step above now with the, with how he can, with the weapons that he has? That's what's very exciting, and it's just fun to watch. So Lamar is here at 5. Number 4 is definitely again, this is intriguing for a lot of reasons that aren't really Jordan Love's doing. Jordan Love is at number 4, the current starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, who had spent several years sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and now they're finally letting him try to come out and be a starter in his 4th year as a pro. The rookie contract's more or less, it's in a tough spot, I guess, is what we should say. You're not getting that many good years of not having to pay him. If he's good, very soon you will have to give him a chunk of change. But what's just fascinating about the Jordan Love thing for the Packers is there's never been more pressure on a quarterback to be successful than there has been on Jordan Love, because of the way the Packers are, they basically ran Aaron Rodgers out of town largely due to that Jordan Love pick. I mean, when Rodgers said that he was leaving, that was the thing he brought up, was the Jordan Love selections. So that was at least the first thing he brought up. He brought up other stuff as well, but they made the decision when they were a 13-win team that lost in the conference championship to, instead of helping their team out now, build for the future. It's a bad move if Jordan Love is okay. It's a bad move if Jordan Love is good, but it's a great move if Jordan Love is great. And so there's so much pressure on Love to succeed. That is what I'm intrigued by and want to watch and figure out what happens. Number 3, it's Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, definitely similar in the sense of, for Rodgers, he is now on the Jets. It's his first year away from Green Bay, and it's just fascinating. Right? Does he pull a Russell Wilson and suck? Well, that's fascinating, right? What probably happens is that he's very good for the Jets, but again, it's just interesting. The Rodgers media circus that tends to follow him, I'm just very fascinated by. And again, could he win a Super Bowl with the Jets? That would be huge for his legacy if he won another Super Bowl with them. What is he a disaster? That would not help out his legacy. Does he, get injured this year and then join the Vikings next year like Brett Favre did? I don't know. But as of right now, number 3 on this list is Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, we are sticking with an NFC North quarterback, although Rodgers isn't there anymore. Justin Fields for the Bears is definitely someone who I am just so interested in how he's going to succeed. Listen, I've never seen a player like Justin Fields who really has not yet been successful as a thrower of the football. Some Bears fans disagree, but again, any advanced stat has him as a very poor thrower of the football. Now, that's not necessarily a him thing, right? That could be the situation around him. I think we can all agree the passing game has not been successful for the Bears. Maybe it has nothing to do with him. That's totally possible. We'll know this year. DJ Moore is coming to town. They've built up that receiving core to be solid this year, and they could potentially be, very good if Justin Fields is that guy, which some of these runs he has are electric. He really has the potential to be an MVP in this league. He does. Will he get there? I don't know. But again, the floor ceiling thing is, huge with Fields. His floor is still pretty good. Like, what he was last year was still a pretty effective quarterback, even with the passing issues just due to his legs. But if he can really be an effective passer and that kind of runner, he could be Lamar Jackson, who won an MVP, and that could turn the Bears from kind of they were the worst team in football last year. It could turn them to a legit contender. That's incredibly interesting, but not number 1 on this list. Number 1 belongs to Russell Wilson of the Denver Broncos. Again, the huge move that the Seahawks made was they traded Russell Wilson, which I kind of feel like, listen, I don't know if they knew something we didn't know with Russell Wilson. Maybe they did. But again, the strategy from the Broncos was totally the correct strategy. Hey, there's this good quarterback who's on the open market, who has been a tier 1 quarterback, through the most part of his career, for the past decade, basically. So let's take a chance. Let's trade not even a ton of draft capital. It's actually a bit of an underwhelming haul that the Seahawks got. The issue is Russell Wilson just sucked in the first year of Denver. If Russell Wilson was Russell Wilson, we're not looking at this as a disaster in Denver. We're looking at it as a great trade from the Denver Broncos perspective. Maybe it was just the situation around him. You have Sean Payton there, and if it was, this could legitimately turn the Broncos into a championship contender. They could be a disaster who has the worst contract in sports, or a championship contender, depending on how Russell Wilson plays next year. Super interesting. He's number one on this list. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Who would you have on your list? Again, remember, this is just my list. You can feel free to disagree. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.